You've landed in the confidence zone with Susan Axelrod, the confidence coach. This is a place for topics of information and inspiration, a place to support you to find your confidence, get bold, and get going. Activation is needed today at all levels. Don't wait for someone else to lead. Lead now where you are with what you have. Your energy and enthusiasm matters. Believe it or not, it impacts all of us. Find your confidence, get bold, and get going.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Confidence Zone. Sometimes activation takes going deep. And you know me, I love to go deep. This episode today is a special one for me because I will be interviewing one of my co-authors in the newly released international best-selling book, The Wisdom Collection, Stories That Transform How We Live, Connect, and Lead, published by Summit Press, editor Anne Shaybani. I have been a part of this book project. It's been an amazing experience for me, mostly because I started to get to know some of the other authors sharing wisdom in this collection. This author today, Jennifer Lytle, wrote a chapter on a topic about which I just had to say to her in the green room, it's very likely I will cry today here in the Confidence Zone. She's a family therapist and family and marriage therapist, and she has devised a tool, I guess I might call it, we'll ask her about it, called the Open Palm Ask. So I just wanted to take this moment of introduction to do this. The Open Palm Ask instead of this, which is often what happens when you're in relationships, right? That's the honest truth. So Jennifer, did I get that right?
You did, and I love the visuals.
Yeah, the visual is so beautiful. Jennifer, I want to thank you for taking time today to visit with us. I want to let our viewers and listeners know that you're also a contributing author in the best-selling book, The Perfectly Imperfect Family, which is another one of those things I said to you personally. And the first time I read your chapter, I wish I had known then what I know now. My followers know I'm 63 years old. Kids are grown and gone. I've been through personal trauma with the loss of my husband and so on. And there's so many things I wish I knew. And that's why I do this, Jennifer. That's why I do my work. That's why I speak, I share. That's why I joined the Wisdom Collection. And that's why I'm interviewing you today. So I really, really would love to ask you about the Open Palm Ask. Where did this come from? How did it come out of you?
Thank you, Susan. I want to answer your question, and I love your visual. It's a little bit different than my visual. My visual is a little bit like this, like holding something with like the possibility that it can go away.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Oh, yeah. I love this. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, first I want to thank you for setting this up. I host continuing education events, and I know there's so much behind the scenes work that goes on. So thank you for
my pleasure.
Being willing to connect with your co-authors. I've enjoyed watching a few of them.
Okay. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
You know, you get as much out of it as the people who are watching and the people who, participate. I had a supervisor. Sorry, I know you want to know why we're here today about the Open Palm Ask. I promise we'll go there.
Oh, I'm all in already. Go ahead.
I had a supervisor, and he told me the best clients are those that you both learn something. So I've taken that to heart, and I think it goes into other settings as well.
Of course, as a coach, I'm the same. You come in with a bit of wisdom, and but I guess the whole point is curiosity. and I call it synergy, what you just described. And when I do a long discovery call, I may go 75 minutes. I'm not kidding, with a free discovery call, because I'm listening and looking and feeling for what you're talking about. So I really get what you're saying about that synergistic thing. So did you learn this from your clients?
I think he put it into words, that in particular, but I actually learned it teaching a GRE class to adults. I kind of could categorize my students, if you will, in two categories. And one group, they would show up, and that was their contribution. And, they probably do the work that we were doing. They would, listen to whatever was being said. But there was a different group, they would show up with their materials. They'd even purchase their own books. They'd have their a very clear objective that they needed for themselves. And so I was more supportive of what they needed, and they definitely got more out of the classroom time because they invested more in their classroom time. So I think that was where I really saw it in real time.
So what I would say on my notepad here, I wrote group 1, show up, small u, small p, and group 2, show up, capital U, capital P. And I think right now we're seeing a bit of difficulty and struggle with really showing up, because there's a lot of forces coming down on us, energetically, and with a lot of things going on in the world that make it kind of a little bit of universal difficulty. So the group that showed up really provided you with something, and you had impetus and for deeper agency to want to provide them with something.
There's a proverb, I think it is, and I could be misquoting that term, but there's a proverb, iron sharpens iron. So I think we're talking about things that are even aligned with our co-author Melissa talking about it's not your fault, but it's your problem. A little bit different, but she really emphasized the showing up, arriving to the occasion and making something out of it.
Right. I haven't had a chance to interview her yet, so I will look forward. I'll see if she'll come on. Iron sharpen iron, without a doubt. I grew up playing tennis, and it was the old, no, I want to play with people who are better than I am. So my game rises up. So let's talk about the open palm ask. Let's go again over your visual, because I want to go a little, make sure I really understand that. So use your visual and teach us.
So the first question that you asked, I'll bring my visual in a minute. The first question you asked me, not us, was where did this come from? And in my chapter, I talk about communication being on a continuum. Most things you can understand on a continuum. I mean, as a thought coach, you know that black and white thinking is a cognitive distortion. So the continuum of communication, I developed the open palms ask by entering with the ask for what you want. What I was finding and what I had experienced in my own life was a difficulty with asking for what you want, not being able to, being afraid to, having, and we can understand a lot of reasons, fear of rejection, having been ignored previously. So I developed a phrase, it's okay to ask for what you want, or kind of like a script that I shared with so many clients. Really, the open palms ask developed for me in that final portion of my chapter, in that experience between me and my daughter, where my daughter...
The camp episode. Boy, did I get that one when she went to summer camp. Yeah.
She wanted to stay connected with her friends, but for a lot of different reasons, it was just a no for us. Ultimately, as her parents, we just said, we understand what you want, we understand what you prefer, and no. And it was no for many months, actually, many months. As I said, she still had tears literally about it. Um, but we felt, our reasoning was sound. And one day she shared why going to that particular youth group was meaningful to her, was important to her. And if she hadn't shared just for the sake of connecting and communicating with me, I wouldn't have gotten that insight. Like I so she taught me, my daughter taught me, aren't our children the greatest teachers?
Yes, and also I just want to say this story of you and your daughter is worth the price of the book alone for people. I mean, parenting, my gosh, it's so fraught. I like literally thank God, that I got through the early parenting years and that my children are still well and alive. I mean, it's so fraught today, especially with trillions of sound bites on how to do it better and how to get it right and the imposition of all of that. I love the vulnerability, of course, which you also talk about in your chapter, that you listen to your daughter. Parents have to say no to kids. Kids don't understand it. Parents make a choice. Presumably we have their best intention and their best life in mind, and we have best intentions for them. But when you and your daughter was 11 or 12.
I think this happened when she was 12.
Yeah, 12. I think she was 12. And I mean, 12 is sentient and aware and self-aware. And that story of the reason, we can let people buy the book and read the story of why she told you. And that literally made you change your mind, change your schedule, change your lives, do things differently, because I guess you might say, is this the correct language of her open palm ask?
It totally was.
Yeah.
She wasn't even asking. She was sharing with me. She was sharing her heart. She wasn't even sharing her desire, maybe because I already knew that part was already clear, but she was just connecting with me. Her pain of the no didn't close her off to us as her parents, didn't close her off from sharing, things that were in her heart.
I mean, that's so beautiful, especially with our kids. Oh my gosh, it's so needed right now. Things are very confusing. These children today, they're born into social, they're born with smartphones. It's in their DNA. It's their brain. I have a friend who's a neurologist. I was hiking for 6 hours with him. We were talking about the brain, the actual prefrontal cortex and the hypothalamus and what happens with the whole reward system. And they're born into that at this point. When my first child was born, there were no smartphones. I don't even know if there were phones in 1990. Eventually she got a flip phone when she was 16 years old. So this is so important. The message here, Jennifer, in my conversations that I have with people, inevitably I stop just like I am now, and I invite people to rewind here and listen to what you just said about communicating and communication, because embedded in your system and in your chapter, there's a lot of talk about relationships, and communication is a basis of relationships. And if this wisdom, it really is wisdom, this outlook, this thesis, orientation of giving permission to say what you want, ask for what you want. It's okay to ask for what you want. One of the things that you didn't say is, as children, we're told, stop asking for what you want. I mean, that's a total imposition that parents put on, and sometimes good reason for that. Sometimes maybe we're busy, we're just putting them off. And so these paradigms, the way we grow up, lead to our ability to communicate or inability to communicate. So how does this work in marriages, in marriage relationships? I think that's another thing that we really want to know. How does this show up for you in your marriage counseling or in marital connections?
Really good question. I'll be honest that I haven't directly applied this with a couple, but in the chapter I talk about Peter, who I work with individually, and part of his goals involved his relationship with his wife. And so singularly helping him hold on to his needs, hold
Yeah.
on to his wants, while giving space and permission for his wife to deal with her needs and her wants, which are different than his. That's how I've done it with an individual married person.
Yeah, I mean it'll evolve into the marital relationship in a couple's
Right.
session, but I mean either arguably or inarguably we are two individuals inside that relationship. And the stuff enmeshment is made of is what happens to us if we don't retain or understand some of what you're really teaching us here today. And it feels like a nearly impossible task. You bringing two lives together, and then you start having children, and then there's all those. I mean, once you start studying family systems, it's a whole different thing. But what I like about this, and also it's completely in keeping with the way I coach, the way I have evolved and matured as a human. Very deep work that I've done for decades of my life, a real commitment to my personal evolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your personal evolution, which could turn into revolution. But there are simple things, strategies, tools, or techniques that any person can do that helps create a smoother, simpler, higher level functioning in relationship with others. And that's the way I feel about this. When you learn about this concept, you'll learn all about it in the chapter. And when you learn about this concept, it's because I teach thought transformation. So it's very thought based, that you can realize that you can change your thoughts and you can have great outcomes. I feel like this is one of those. Have you experienced that when you speak with people about this, they get it? I mean, obviously the examples in your chapter, they did, but have you experienced that generally?
I'll say for sure I get people who get it, who like the idea, and there are other people who are still in that maybe pain stage of life where that sounds nice and that sounds good, but we're just not there yet. We're not able to hear a no. We're not able to adjust and shift that, you know, well, I wanted a non-dairy creamer, and what do you mean you only? That's a silly
Yeah.
example, but
Yeah.
so there's some response to it, and I will even say that the open palm ask isn't necessarily maybe for everyone all the time. I think in some relationships, maybe if there's not some psychological safety, ask for what you want. Um, with some looseness is about the best that you can do.
Did you say looseness? Looseness. So it's looseness. It's not concreteness. So
Right.
It's like almost like the fingers are a little bit open.
Yes.
And we're practicing
Soft.
this, right? Soft. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because we can approach life with a hardness, and a lot of us have to be really hard to be successful, to be constantly on the go. I think I read something of that you you've
Indeed
talked
you
about
did.
this.
Indeed you did in my chapter.
Constantly being on, constantly being on the go, you really have to bypass some of that softness to be able to function that way. So while I think it can work for many people, I also recognize not everybody is going to always be in this space where they can use a softness, a vulnerability, even because vulnerability, in a way, it can be unsafe for people. So we have to acknowledge that. We have to accept, even if there isn't an actual danger, if the person believes they're in danger, it's, an open palms ask probably won't work for them. The best
I
thing.
mean, Jennifer, I really want to say again what you're saying. The word safety does not necessarily, it's not the opposite of violence, but safety is personal safety, psychological safety, inner safety. And that connects up to the growing up paradigm and so forth. And it is a very important basis of this. I use this work in my coaching without a doubt. I call it going under the surface, under your surface. And it may take a lot of breakthrough, right? And the word that came up for me was, you used if you're in that pain, and I wrote on my paper equals resistance.
Okay.
So resistance comes in when you're in that pain. You're in resistance because you don't want to feel pain, right? But therapy, weekly meeting with a trained professional, a human, not AI therapy, a trained professional, a trained human who will create the safe and sacred vessel for you. Also, the fact that you do families, and it's so important today. And I completely get you that sometimes, even in what might be normally developing, there's no normal, but normally developing families, normally developed relationships and circumstances, never mind horrifically dysfunctional, right? That's a whole different level. But what we're doing today is introducing people to an idea that can support. I've been only in the human relations work really formally for a decade now as this type of coach, but my background, my primary career of working in philanthropy and fundraising prepared me for all of this, because everything connected to money is based in human relations.
Okay.
And so I've been working with people for a very long time. And the fact that I resonated with this and shared that with you is very indicative. Anybody who knows me, listens to me, has watched anything I've done, they know why this is resonating with me, because I believe I came out of the hard. I came out of overachieving. I came out of concreteness. I came out of black and white thinking. I had to learn what curiosity was from my sister. I always acknowledge and credit people for teaching me. And none of that is because anything was bad.
Okay.
None of that was because anything was bad. Everything was good. I had a beautiful, loving family circumstance, but it was overachieving and so on and so forth.
Were you the oldest?
I'm not the oldest. I'm the third. I'm the third. I'm a middle, of four. So, but also I'm not going to talk about my other sister, Ann. She's the oldest. I'm not talking about her here today. But I was a middle child, right? Third of four. I did things, I had to get things right. So, it got things right a lot. And so anyway, shape or form, we're talking about a couple of concepts here today. First of all, communication. I work with young professionals. I own the domain name foryoungprofessionals.com. I have a number of young professionals who have hired me themselves, and I work with them. And then I work with women in the second half of life, people who have lived confident, well lives, and all of a sudden their children are grown and gone. They may or may not be happy in their work or marriage. And now what? You feel unconfident again. And all of this resonates. Communication is an underlying basis for all of this. Second, vulnerability. And attached to vulnerability, you brought up right away, safety. Is it safe? And if we can teach people that sitting in a vulnerable place could be safe for you, if it is, you'll rise. Your soul will be soothed from there. And asking for what you want. I mean, come on, this is so important. This lesson that your daughter, later she's going to be my client when she's 30.
Yeah.
And she's going to say, oh my gosh, I had this episode, when I was 12 about camp, and my parents heard me and they respected me. That's without a doubt going to serve her the rest of her life. And asking for what you want it's important. But if you're in a relationship, even at work, one of your examples in the chapter is somebody at work. And that's an important place to learn to do this as well, isn't it?
For sure. Well, communication is, the basis of human life, right? And we're communicating whether verbally or non-verbally. So it's important possibly everywhere we go. Maybe not, because we have a lot of superficial moments in our lives, perhaps at the grocery store, in a fast food lane. But if we're able to kind of slow down, even in those areas, and just connect through communication, whether that's just,
100%.
Like
I think somebody's chapter, I can't remember who it was now, but somebody's chapter, it wasn't yours. Somebody's chapter talks about exactly that, having a sort of deeper communications with regular people in your life, like at the supermarket. Yeah, totally. The whole idea of superficial moments, my gosh, that's a whole conversation.
right.
I have a meme that I created. It's a graphic that says, I like going deep, not apologizing. But I created that in my maturity, not in my upwardly mobile professional days, So Jennifer, this conversation is so great. I want to thank you. I published several books, and you obviously are committed to it. Even in your bio, it says, or on your LinkedIn bio, it says, I write, or I've always written. And so I want to thank you for getting to it. There's people don't understand what it takes to do this, what we've done, to be in the Wisdom Collection book, or for you in the Perfectly Imperfect Family, getting over your own fears and insecurities, getting over your own schedule, committing, doing the work, self-judgment, breaking through, etc. So I really want to thank you. I really deeply feel that your chapter is going to be thought-provoking for some. For people who are already deep, it could be transformative. And I want to wish you the very, very best. How can people find you if they want to follow you more?
JoyfulJourneysCounseling.com. I have a free parenting 5-week Power Parent Hour that's coming up July 23rd. So I'll do it 5 Wednesdays for an hour, and they can sign up for that at joyfuljourneyscounseling.com/parent power hour. So
wow. So this is a free 5-week thing that you're doing. Oh my gosh. Send me the information. I will surely be sharing it widely on my platform because now that I read your work, I've gotten to know you, I've seen what you're doing. I definitely know that people will benefit from this. I also will let my own clients know as well. Some of them have young children as well. So Jennifer, thank you so much for your time today. Rock on. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Susan. You show up every time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay. I'll see you again soon.
Bye, Susan.